guys, and welcome back to another Mystery Bit video right here on TetraBitGaming, the series where we explore some mysterious stories, rumors, and hoaxes in gaming. In the spirit of it being my first time attending E3 in Los Angeles this year, where many crazy new games have already been announced, I thought it would be cool to revisit Super Mario 128, probably the most well-known and mysterious tech demo to have been showcased. As always, before we jump in, if you have any suggestions for a future Mystery Bit video you'd like to see me cover, be sure to drop them down in the comment section below. And with all of that out of the way, let's get started. In order to better understand how things led up to Super Mario 128, we must first take a look a few years prior to its announcement. As early as 1997, less than a year after Super Mario 64 was released in Japan and North America, Mario creator Shigeru Miyamoto had already mentioned a sequel to the game. It was initially referred to as Super Mario 64 2, and it was slated to be released on the failed Nintendo 64 DD attachment. According to Mr. Miyamoto, the game was going to have two-player gameplay and would feature Luigi as a playable character as well. Unfortunately, due to the Nintendo 64 DD's failure, the game was put on hiatus. Later, in a 1998 interview with Nintendo Power, Miyamoto had suggested that this Super Mario 64 sequel was now being considered to be brought to a completely new system, that there was already a demo level made, and that he really wanted to focus on the game's multiplayer aspect. From that point, not much was heard about the Super Mario 64 sequel for quite some time. Much like E3 today, Nintendo Space World was a trade show hosted by Nintendo where they would typically unveil upcoming consoles and games. This includes announcements like the Super Famicom and Zelda 64, which would eventually become Ocarina of Time. Space World 2000 continued this trend with the announcement of several games that would go on to be some of the GameCube's best, such as Super Smash Bros. Melee, Luigi's Mansion, Mario Kart Double Dash, and of course, Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius.
Bond with me, Jimmy.
Additionally, Nintendo had shown off two notable tech demos showing off the GameCube's capabilities. The first was one for The Legend of Zelda, which had Link and Ganondorf having a tussle. And the second one was for Super Mario 128. The footage started off with an 8-bit Mario walking on screen. Then, after zooming in, one by one, it was shown that each individual pixel for the 8-bit Mario was in fact another 3D Mario. Quickly, this number grew to 64, and then, you guessed it, 128. The Marios then moved around on the circular Monopoly-esque board and would interact with each other. After a while, the terrain would transform, move, and even turn into pizza? And yeah, it looks like some Marios were harmed in the making of this clip. This was the first and last time that anyone would publicly see Super Mario 128, and a year later in 2001, Super Mario Sunshine had been announced. Many people make the mistake and think that Super Mario 128 was just a beta for Super Mario Sunshine. However, in an interview, Shigeru Miyamoto has gone on record to say that they were in fact two separate games. He said, "In the case of Mario, obviously we are doing work on the Mario 128 demo that we were showing at Space World, and separately we were doing work on experiments that we made into Mario Sunshine." After several years of not being shown anywhere, fans grew concerned and suspicious about the game's development. After no mention of the game again at E3 in 2003, rumors began to brew that Nintendo was simply not showing the game because they were too worried that other companies would try to copy their idea, which they believed was very innovative. However, soon after, during an interview with a Nintendo official magazine, Miyamoto confirmed that Super Mario 128 was indeed still in development. He also went to mention that as far as Mario games go, he wanted to make it a very different game, but still Mario-esque. Soon after, things started to get even more confusing. With their ever-present clickbaity titles, CNN,
but we don't want fake news. Bad thing, very bad for our country,
interviewed George Harrison. Nope, the other one, who at the time was the acting senior vice president of marketing for Nintendo. In this interview, he mentioned that Super Mario 128 was still being developed. However, he didn't mention if it was still coming to the GameCube or not. 2004 had rolled around, and again, Miyamoto confirmed the game's existence, and as such, many fans were expecting to see it at that year's E3, but again, Super Mario 128 did not make an appearance. In an interview later that year, Miyamoto heavily emphasized that the game was very experimental, and the experimental designs were tested on both the GameCube and the Nintendo DS. At this point, many people saw it kind of strange that after 4 years, the game was still in an experimental phase. At the Game Developers Conference in 2005, ya boy Reggie confirmed that finally after 5 long years, Super Mario 128 would be shown at E3 2005, again in the form of a non-interactive video. Oh well, it would be something at least, right? But guess what? Super Mario 128 was never shown. After being asked about it not being seen again, Reggie had said that he can only show what Mr. Miyamoto gave him to show. Reggie was also asked to confirm if the game really does even exist, to which he replied that he had only seen bits and pieces of it. Later that year, Miyamoto had announced that the game would not be produced for the GameCube, but rather pushed back for the Revolution, which we now know as the Nintendo Wii. At this point, I remember myself getting kind of frustrated with how many times the game was being delayed and how ambiguous all the comments from Nintendo were. Anyways, later in 2005, when asked about Super Mario 128, in a radio interview, Miyamoto revealed that the game was still coming, although under a different name on the Wii, and that in the game, Mario would have a brand new companion traveling with him this time. He also made a point in mentioning that Super Mario 128 was key in the conceptualization of the Wii console, going as far as saying that the Wii was based around this new type of game. Now, many people see this as proof that Super Mario 128 became Super Mario Galaxy, and while it certainly suggests it, there are a few things that don't quite add up for me. Who was considered Mario's new sidekick? Luma? Maybe Rosalina? And I don't see how Super Mario Galaxy could have been considered the game that the Wii's entire motion control concept was based on. I mean, you basically only use the motion controls to make Mario spin and to collect star bits. The following year, when asked about Super Mario 64 2, Miyamoto stated that the project had become other games and that many of the functions seen in the gameplay demo were used in other games, such as the rapid generation seen in Pikmin and the sphere walking used in The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess and Super Mario Galaxy. With these words, it finally seemed that Super Mario 128 was lost for good. Delivering the final dagger stab at the 2007 Game Developers Conference, Miyamoto delivered a speech in which he went on to say that Super Mario 128 was merely a tech demo to showcase the GameCube's power, and again reiterated that many experiments from Super Mario 128 were later used in Pikmin and Super Mario Galaxy. Mr. Miyamoto then ended the almost 7-year-long mystery by saying, "What happened to Mario 128? I'm always at a loss as how to answer it because most of you have already played it. But you played it in a game called Pikmin." My guy, Pikmin was released in like 2001, and you were basically confirming standalone development up until like 2005. Big Man Reggie also said that a video of it would be available to the public too. No way does it make sense after all of this, Super Mario 128 was just Pikmin. Personally, just based on all the confirmations way past Pikmin's release, I do believe that Super Mario 128, although probably under a different title, was going to be its own game. And if it was in fact turned into Super Mario Galaxy, it must have been changed quite a bit because I don't really see how it could have been the pinnacle of the Wii's motion control concept. Unfortunately, unless someone manages to dump some files on the internet like what happened with the Pokemon Gold beta, we will probably never know what Super Mario 128 really looked like throughout its tumultuous development. But I'm curious what you guys think. Do you think Super Mario 128 was simply just a tech demo with mechanics that ended up in Pikmin and Super Mario Galaxy? Or do you think there's more to this mystery than Miyamoto is telling us? Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. But with that concludes this Mystery Bit video on Super Mario 128, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to leave a like and check out more Mystery Bit videos by clicking on the card right here. And if you're new here and would like to stay even more up to date with me and the channel, be sure to subscribe and join me over on my other social media sites, which will all be linked in the description below. But as always guys, thank you all so much for watching today and for all of your amazing support. And I will see you in a bit.